I'm getting you nice and shined up here, buddy. We're gonna get you over here by my newly painted wall. My wife don't know how to hang up pictures right, but we got to get you all. You remember it was just me and you in the Cold War days? Just us against the Rusties, Good times.
Eric?
Hey, Dave.
How are you? Hey.
Oh, pretty good. Oh, you want a cast, brother?
Sorry to interrupt your field day there.
Let me put the grant away here. We're gonna put you up here, little buddy. All right, there you go. Stay right there until Daddy gets back. All right.
I gotta get mine on the shelf behind me. A beautiful Michigan.
One of the Ohio classes ought to be pretty good. Get oil. Was it Chief Meadows over there? But he's got a backlog, so if you do ask him to build one, you got to be a little patient.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It is the Sub Vet. We apologize for being gone for a while, but Eric was a little bit below the line. Wasn't feeling great, so
I wasn't feeling great.
To give him a chance to get back up on an even bubble and level bubble.
So I got all kinds of new braces. Got brand new $200 orthopedic shoes so I can walk. So this old body hasn't failed me completely yet, but how much longer before I'm in a nursing home, Dave?
Man.
Yeah, these things are, all the nurses wear these things too. This one's, what brand is it? There were several expensive brands. Hoka's? You heard of them? H-O-K? Your wife might wear them.
My wife's a nurse, but she buys the cheap shoes. So.
Yeah, this got like
an inch and a half.
You
know why she buys it? Because she works in L&D, and invariably she gets her shoes dirty from, let's just call it
certain stuff.
Fluids, right? And so I don't want to spend a lot of money on shoes because they're just going to get ruined.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that makes sense. You go through them shoes.
Not like on patrol, man. Patrol shoes were great. I always wore Converse basketball high tops.
The
leather high tops. That was my patrol shoe.
I always wore, good popular tennis shoe at the time. Not like, getting NBA type. So they were just starting to get when did the Nike Jordan Airs first come out? You know what year?
I have no idea. I've never worn an Air Jordan. So,
because it seemed like as soon as I came out, shoes just started going through the roof.
In my day, it was the Lakers, Showtime, Magic, and the Bad Boys in Detroit, and I just really like those Converse high top shoes. Played and coached basketball for the Michigan in the 80s. Won the base title in 85. Huzzah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good job.
Be that as it may, it's not really what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about submarine stuff. And boy, there's a lot of crap going on in the world today. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are people who text me on a regular basis. Among them is Eric. And
yeah,
I don't want to be flippant or mean or anything, but man, the text you were sending me this morning.
Oh, I was just sending you some stuff because I know you won't go to my rumor group, so I just copy and paste what they're saying.
Right.
Because I know you won't give them the time of day.
Rumor group, so since I won't go to the rumor group, he brings the rumor group to me, which is all about it's all about the war and the strange things.
So, different theories, what's going on, of course. Yeah.
So far, oddly enough, I'm a little surprised because I really do think that there are people that are trying to drag us into this war. And really, whether you're for that or against that really isn't the point of this show. The point is there are people who yesterday, I guess President Zelensky took time off from being the most impressive man in the world right now to talk to Congress, United States Congress, and did a video conference with 300 members of our Congress, at which he begged them to enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
And see, that's what brings it interest. Why? I mean, obviously, we're sending this guy a bunch of weapons and we're supporting him. And there's even rumors of people from other countries joining his military under the Ukraine military, if you will. I mean, why ain't we going in there? You know, it's just there's a lot of shady stuff going on in there. And is the threat of Putin's nuclear weapons enough to keep us out? Are we waiting for something else to happen? You know, there's just so many irons in the fire, Dave. It's hard for me, you know, from my redneck studies online. You know, I do redneck internet searches, you know, rumored groups amongst them. I got an alien theory if you want to hear that later too. But I mean, with all that going on, it's just hard. What's real and what's not real? What's propaganda? What's not propaganda? And obviously, watching the big news like the Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, you're not going to get the real story there. It's interesting that they blocked off the Russian Times from, you know, most countries. I think it's blocked off the U.S. now, but I'm able to get to it through VPN. But, you know, why are they blocking it off? Okay, Russian Times might be propaganda too, but why are they blocking it off? So it's just, are they trying to get everybody into one narrative? It's just, it's
did
crazy.
They actually block off RT, or did the staff? What I read was that RT shut down because of the sanctions. They didn't have any way to pay their bills. So it really wasn't an issue of shutting it down. I mean, I don't know.
The website's but I worry, even though there's propaganda in all countries, obviously, but I still worry when you shut down speech. You know, the freedom of speech is critical to first, you know, people like me and people more heavy study like you, just to try to figure out what's going on. Because you got to disseminate from all these different outlets and pull because there's little bits of truth with the propaganda, and you just got to get better just by watching it and see if you can put your own theories together.
I once read in a book, a character in one of the books that I was reading said this: when liberty is at risk, freedom of speech is often the first casualty. And right. I agree with that. I look, am I happy about all this? But at the same time, there is so much nonsense out there right now about this war. I mean, I called it on my show the other day, the first TikTok war, which was followed the next day by an article in a major U.S. magazine calling it the first TikTok war. So obviously they're listening to me. Because there's no way they were writing that, you know, a month ago. Anyway, the point being that this whole thing is so social media oriented that, I mean, if you're on Twitter or TikTok, the stuff you're seeing, and the crazy thing is you don't know if it's real or not. The pictures of Zelensky and his body armor from last year,
you gotta go
Ukraine, you know, with her airsoft gun, and so you don't know what to believe, what not to believe.
Yeah, you don't. That's exactly right. You don't want to believe, but you know, you're kind of hitting the nail on the head there. You got to go where your audience is. Just this week, I just noticed Facebook's updated again, and it looks more like a cell phone on your two screen experience now. But, you know, most people are on their cell phones, and instead of going watching the propaganda news channels, which their ratings are way down compared to what it used to, people are getting all their news through social media feeds. And then you'll find something interesting, like you'll find maybe a Russian narrative. Somebody might post it and get it, you know, might translate it and post it. But you go back a few minutes later and Twitter's already deleted it. So, yeah, you're right. Everybody uses the social media feed to get their news, and it's being heavily controlled. And you got to wake up and think about it, especially, you know, if you've grown up with the internet, like you became a late teen going into your adult years since 2010. This internet is completely different than what the internet that me and you started off with back in the 90s, you know, good old AOL Prodigy days and dial-up. Everybody laughs about how slow it was, but, you know, the information that got put out there between then and 2008 was amazing. And then all of a sudden, when social media comes around, things just started getting filtered out. And then instead of everybody being on a bunch of websites, the only thing they pop open is Facebook and Twitter.
Well, it's convenient. It's compact. It's convenient. It is I call it the USA Today effect. Right. I don't know if you remember when USA Today first started publishing in the early 80s. I'm thinking 81, 82, somewhere in there. And all of a sudden, you could read the entire national news in little 150 to 300 character news stories.
It was the go-to paper.
It was. But at the same time, it lacked any depth, any analysis, anything you were actually used to from a newspaper was gone. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, social media has become that. Who was it? Somebody referred to it as the McPaper. And that's what social media has become. It's become the news. It's so, A, it's condensed, so you don't know if you're getting the whole story or not. But B, it's also, and newspapers were the same way. I acknowledge that, but it's also very slanted and very propaganda-esque. It doesn't matter which side you're on. Most people are living in an echo chamber. You're only hearing the things that you want to hear. Ukraine is great. Ukraine is great. I hate to break this to you. Ukraine is losing, and they're losing badly. But all you're seeing on social media is how great they're doing. You know, it wasn't but 70, 80 years ago that when Germany was losing the war, and Japan did the same thing, they kept talking about our glorious armies have retreated another 20 miles, thus delaying the enemy even further. You know, turning huge defeats into these major victories. Well, what's the difference between that and, look, we shot down a helicopter? You know, okay, but what about the 50 it didn't shoot down? So what did they do? What
happened? What kind of damage? Of course, you're going to lose playing. Yeah, and even the numbers. If the Russians went in with a lot of helicopters and planes and tanks, and they did get taken out, I mean, the numbers they were posting is not that much compared to the numbers of hardware they probably put in there in play. Anyway,
I have no doubt that it's costing the Russians, or as I refer to them, the neo-Soviets, more than they anticipated. I have no doubt that they actually did think that the Ukrainians were just going to give up, throw up their hands and say, "Hey, come on in." I think they're horrified at the response. I think their troops are probably scared to death of the fact that they're being shot at. Because, I mean, think about it. This is the first time since Afghanistan that Russian troops have really been, I know, Chechnya and Grozny and that stuff, but on a massive scale like this. It's the first time since Afghanistan. And that was 2 generations ago. So these kids, they're sitting in there. They have no corporate memory of this stuff. They have no experience with it. And war is scary. Terrifying.
And some of your 40, I would say, what would you say, 40 and up, you know, from when the Cold War ended in 91? I mean, Ukraine was still part of Russia, so there's a lot of family ties here. So there's the background stories that obviously is not on the media. It's literally somewhat like a civil war, because this is a former Russian republic, and there's cross families, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian. There was a lot of Russian. Well, those 2 territories, there are a lot of Russians in there.
I read this morning, and I would have to find it because I didn't keep it, because it was one of those things that was a lot of stuff I read. I just read it and go on because I don't think I'm going to need it later. And of course, it turns out that I did. I read this morning an article, and I'll find it and send it to you. 53% of the Russian troops, the army, 53% of Russian soldiers have familial connections or ancestry that's Ukrainian. So they have family connections to Ukraine. So that could be a factor in the morale. It could be a factor in all those other things. I guess the point of all this is being that Zelensky asked our Congress to enact a no-fly zone, which would be a de facto declaration of war. Because how do you enforce a no-fly zone? You have to shoot down anything that's flying in there. Well, what's flying in there? Russian planes and helicopters. Are we really ready to go to war with Russia over Ukraine? Now, there's 1,000,001 theories about what's going on. Biolabs and Hunter Biden and corruption and all that stuff. Is any of that worth one American life? Is any of it worth that?
No.
Nah.
I think there's a big lack of interest in this war too.
Well, I think there's huge interest in it. People, this is like 1991 all over again. People are glued to the TV set. They're glued to social media.
Well, no. I don't like what you interest in the war, but I think there's a lack of interest, like when they, because they got all those draft bills that they signed over the last 10 years. So when they come March, and I heard the rumors, there's already recruiters heavily canvassing colleges already. So when they start saying, hey, you got to sign up and go fight the war that just started over there, that's where I think lack of interest is going to prevail.
Well, and of course, the big fear is Vladimir Putin made the threat. That's what they're calling it, the threat of nuclear weapons. I don't know that it was a specific threat. I heard what he said. I read the translations. The thing is that Russian military doctrine has been, since the Cold War, since the 1960s, has always been to announce that they reserve the right to use nuclear weapons to resolve the conflict. They've always done that. So I don't know that that's a threat, but it's certainly something that people weren't used to hearing. And so since we're not used to hearing that, you kind of go, hey, wait a minute, what exactly does he mean by this? Is he threatening us with nuclear weapons? And of course, around here, probably not as much in Denver there, but around here, that got a lot of attention. And there are things that, you remember this phrase, need to know? There are a lot of things that I don't need to know, but when I watch them happening, I know what's happening. And it's really quiet around here right now, if you get my drift.
Right.
Really quiet right now.
Well, getting into the submarine topic and that's the reason we're here, by the way. I mean, getting back into that, I mean, the submarine news has gone really quiet lately.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm getting maybe 1/10 of what I normally get. There's some days that there's nothing to post at all because nothing's really beginning out. And I tell you what, I mean, I used to post pictures from and we talked about this before, all those port cams are out there.
Port cam.
I mean, I'd be wanting, I would be posting those too, but I'm not retweeting that stuff right now. I'm not posting because whether I agree with our intervention or going to war, on Ukraine side or not, I'm not going to put my boys in jeopardy. My boys and girls out there, manning our boats in jeopardy.
I'm intrigued by Warship Cam. I love the Warship Cam Twitter account.
Right.
And it's cool. And yes, as far as the subnet goes, I would post them there regularly because they were interesting. I've noticed that the Warship Cam has shifted from American submarines, American aircraft carriers, American fighting ships to this oiler is coming in. Here's a service ship of some kind. Here's a ship coming back from a 7-month deployment. They're not. I don't know that I've seen one. I think submarine. There was I think it was Chicago pulled into Pearl Harbor or something a couple of days ago. But that's it. It's almost like, and I almost kind of wink and nod when I say this. It's almost like the submarines are moving at times when the cameras can't see them. Duh.
I don't know. Yeah. Give me a second, Dave.
Sure. Oh, he's having to go take care of his dog because his doggy's upset.
Yeah. People coming in the house. A lot of traffic in this house lately.
Yeah, I'll let people.
All right.
That solves that problem. But you got a like real popular wife and family and stuff. So you got a Latino family. So
yeah, that's what I said. Latino family, everybody's your family, whether you're related to them or not. It's interesting. I actually like it though, because I had a lot of extended family when I was growing up too. So
I just hate everybody. So I just don't let anybody in my house.
You see, I've been trying to grow my my beard out like you, Dave. There's a week's worth of work, and nobody can probably see it. But I was like, I've never been able to grow facial hair. So on my first boat, there was this guy, Steve Thomas. So he was. A lot of guys are just getting out after their 6 years. Just couldn't wait to get out. He was one of those guys. So, we were like, hey, so what are you going to do when you get out, Steve, when you get out of the Navy? Oh, I'm just going to hang out at the base and date Navy wives. Of course, he said it in a different way, but think of that what you may. But, you go, he was a well-built man, if you will, a caveman is what I call him. The stern jaw, very, very muscular and everything. He didn't even have to work out to get this body. I don't think I ever saw him working out. Matter of fact, he was just a big natural DNA enhanced caveman. he'd come up and see it because back then I shaved maybe every 4 days just to get a little bit because I just didn't grow anything at 21 years old. I think I was 20 or 21 years old. He's going, see this, bro? This is man stuff. Bro. You wouldn't know what that's all about. He saw man stuff. You see, when you grow up, bro, you can get some of this stuff. He's all rubbing on his thick beard and stuff like that. I said, you know what, Steve? You're just a caveman, and I'm more evolved than you. That's what
surprised you didn't rub your face in it. Because that's what I would have done.
I think I have had that happen before. So
I had a pretty good beard.
A little bit sorry.
I had a really good beard early in my. Once we got to the boat, you couldn't grow one when you weren't on the boat, but on the boat you could grow one. And so I had a pretty full beard when I was on the boat,
or pay for it anyway.
And then
rec fund.
Yeah, and then did we get like a new CNO like 84? So we got something changed in 84. I don't remember if it was a CNO or a Sing Pack or something. I don't remember. But the bottom line is beards went out the window. And I think it was the last of the Think Zumwalt thing. It was, the salt and pepper uniforms went away and blah, blah, blah. And so
that's when they went away. Because I like that. Yeah. Everybody had to wear the sailor hat. Yeah.
And that was when the beards went away, at least pack fleet wise. And so I had to shave that whole thing off. And that, oh God, that hurt. So for most of my life, I didn't wear one. When I got out of the Navy, I kind of went to a little bit, but in recent months, I have decided that, you know what, screw this. I'm just not dealing with it anymore. And I'm just let it grow.
I wouldn't know what to do if you shaved that beard off. I wouldn't even know who you are.
What I don't like about it is I kind of like the fact that it's gray, which has nothing to do with submarine, except for the zoomies that I absorbed when I was in the missile compartment. But when I was younger, my hair was red. And so it was this really cool looking red. I have pictures of it somewhere, but anyway, I don't have that anymore, which is.
Don't have the red hair going on.
Long time
ago. It was
ago.
always part of halfway night, who had the best beard. That was right after the halfway night festivities, like with the halfway night girl models and stuff like
Miss
that.
Michigan contest, yes, which I used to MC. I
saw that picture of it.
You should see the video. There's a video that has never seen the light of day. That, oh God, I don't even know if I should say this or not. We had a winner one time, and Miss Michigan contest, and there are pictures of it on my Facebook page, and like I said, none of those three that are in that picture were the winner. None of them were the winner. They weren't even in the same time zone, kids. And you got to remember, this was before the age of transgenderism and all the stuff you have now. So there was this kid. He was an E3, blonde, kind of Swedish looking, thin, wispy kid. And somehow or another, he got a hold of a whole roll of terry cloth, the stuff we used to clean with.
Oh, yeah.
And he fashioned a terry cloth bikini.
Really?
And he came out and so I'm standing at the back of the mess decks. I'm emceeing the show, the halfway night show. I've already done the other three that you can see in the pictures if you ever see them. Because there's no pictures of this one. There is video. Right. I have seen the video, but the video has been locked away. Never to see the light of day. So I look to my left, which the audience can't see. I look to my left and I see this guy coming in, and I'm like, oh. Because I know what's about to happen. And I introduced him, and he walked out, and he had one of those frozen slices of tubes of meat things that we used to use at night.
Right.
We called it a really bad name, but because this is a family show, I can't say the name we called it. Started with horse and ended with cock. But he,
something like that.
He walked out with that and did this. I'm not even sure dirty describes it with this meat. And the cob is in the front row.
Didn't even know what to do.
The cob is just, his eyes are bulged out. His chin is like, and he's like, for the good 2 minutes that this kid was doing his thing, and the noise. Oh my God, the cheers. And the only thing I could think to say when he was finally done and off the stage. And, he won. I mean, we didn't even have to vote. He won. And the only thing I could think is, somewhere out there, there's a Victor 3 listening on this thing going, I don't know what's going on, comrade.
Because that's when we would make the most noises during halfway night. I mean, always sonar out there going, hey, you guys need to hold it down back here. We can hear you out there in the mic.
Anyway, to the surprise of no one, he ended up getting out at the end of the patrol because it turns out he was gay. So, and back in those days, kids, you couldn't be gay in the Navy.
No,
but back in those days,
I bet they don't even have this contest anymore. I mean, I bet they have halfway night, but I don't know. With the integration cruise, how could you do that?
I don't think you could. And from what I've heard, I wasn't there, but from what I've heard, even the line crossing ceremonies aren't. You can't tack on a crow. You can't tack on dolphins. You can't.
That's probably been that way a while, though.
Well, I mean, there was probably we were in, but you did it anyway.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Up to 2005, people were probably doing it anyways, but because I would have retired at 20 at 2006, 7, somewhere in there. So I mean, because I was like the last of the regime where we got trained by the what would you say, the Vietnam era guys, the real hardcore guys. So
I don't know. I didn't drink while I was in the Navy. The weird part is I didn't become I didn't become a drinker until after I got out of the Navy, which is really weird.
That's crazy. Drinking in the Navy is what made me into the mess I am.
True. but I always regret not drinking my dolphins. I think that would have been the cool. I guess I could do it now. I could go down to the Fleet Reserve and say, hey, pour me a thing and drop my dolphins in and drink it. I don't think it would have the same effect these days that it would have had then.
I've been wanting to do this a while.
It would have been weird. So let's talk submarine stuff, shall we? Because we beat around. Back when I was in submarine school, I went to basic enlisted submarine school. I started in December of 81, graduated in February of 82. There was a day in submarine school where, and I don't know if it was on the curriculum or not. I have no idea. I don't know if it was just hey, we're going to do this today, or if it's part of the curriculum. I have no idea because I was never a sub-school instructor. But there was a day where our class commander, MM1 Garamio, said, today we're going to talk about the bad stuff that can happen because you need to know about the bad stuff that can happen. And so we talked about the loss of the 52 boats during the war, and we talked about Thresher, and then we started talking about Scorpion, which of course this was 1981, early 82. So this was still, I don't want to say it was still raw, but there were still people who knew people who were on Scorpion, Thresher, and the likes of that. It was not unusual to run into somebody who had been on Scorpion or on Thresher, or whatever.
Some second person
right
people.
Well, there were people that I transferred off Scorpion right before the last patrol, last run, or whatever, and there weren't a lot of them, but they were still around, and the likes of that. One of the things I remember discussing with Scorpion was two things. One, it was generally believed. Now, when I say generally believed, I mean that's what we were told. Whether you believe it or not is really up to you. We were led to the impression that it was generally believed that the Scorpion had been sunk by the Soviets in retaliation for the sinking of the K-129 6 months earlier, March of 68.
Right.
And there was a lot of discussion about the existence, air quote, of an audio tape that proved this. But of course, nobody had that tape and they didn't play it for us. Or they played a tape for us that might have been, but how the hell would I know?
How would you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it. And then there was a brief, and I mean ever so brief discussion about, we know she was on the surface because they found a body. And that was it. And then we moved on to the next thing.
And I remember hearing this story too.
That has haunted me for years. I mean, that was in 1981. This is 2022. So that's 41 years. And about a year and a half ago, I was doing some reading and I came across the notes from the Trieste dive on Scorpion, the original dive when they went down with Trieste to look at. And there was a brief mention of discovering of a body. And I remember posting this on my Facebook thing, sending it to my shipmates going, what the heck is this? I mean, did you hear this? And then yesterday we were talking about somehow or another, I think it was the poopy suits and cowboy boots guys, posted a long post that went into unnecessarily graphic detail, in my opinion, about the body that was discovered and how this body that was discovered lying next to the wreck proves that the ship was either on or near the surface, or that at least one crew member survived the initial incident, whatever that was, and managed to get into the escape trunk, meaning that they had to be near the surface, obviously, when it happened, because his periscopes were up and so forth and so on. I got to tell you, man, that is the kind of thing that keeps me up at night.
It's a long read too. On that. I posted a link, by the way, to this on the Subvet and Facebook group. You can find that. It says more Scorpion theories, and it has a link there to the Poopy Suits and Cowboys article that he has. And you better have some time, because you're gonna have to read things over like 10 times, because there's just a lot to take in and think about. I mean, if you're not a submariner, you probably read right through it, but it's a lot to think about. And
it's written in heavy Navy-ese, so it's not like it's an easy read to begin with, but you're having to decipher things. And again, I left the Navy 30 years ago, so I'm reading it going, wait, I used to know what that meant. They're using, acronyms and stuff like that, that again, I know I used to know them, but it's like, my hard drive is trying to access that, and I'm still working on that 2.5 megabyte hard drive, trying to find this stuff out. It really,
some of those sectors are corrupted.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that really, I can't speak for anybody else, but it really bothered me. It really bothered me last night when I was trying to sleep, and all I could think about is this body on the bottom. And yeah, there are a lot of questions about how does a body wearing a K-POC life jacket sink to the bottom? Well, K-POC is notoriously, when it gets wet, it tends to sink. It doesn't float very long. It will float,
it'll become like weight.
Yeah. And it's very possible, the way I'm reading this, and I don't know how you read it, but the way I'm reading is the body may have been in the escape trunk, which is open, and it might have been in there for weeks before it finally bumped out and then sank right down next to it. But man, it was...
Because there was talk on there if he did escape and he was on the surface for a while after the incident, he would have got caught up in a current. He would be
right next to the boat.
He'd eventually sunk, but it wouldn't be anywhere close to the boat, right? So it just really made...
And it just...
So what's the real meat and potatoes that was discussed on there, though, Dave?
Well, again, it's one of those things where, why did Scorpion sink? And that's this argument has been going on since 1968. We were told in submarine school, and there are at least 2 books that I know of out there that confirm, quote unquote, that it was sunk by the Russians in retaliation for the Russians believing that we had sunk the K-129, which we didn't, but, depends on whose propaganda you want to believe. So I know a lot of people that still believe that the Russians sank her and will always believe that, and you're never going to convince them otherwise. The prevailing theory for many years has been a hot run of a Mark 37 torpedo, because the batteries in the Mark 37 torpedo were apparently designed by evil geniuses who didn't know anything about batteries. And the Mark 37 would hot run. You had to do a 180 turn to shut it down, and they didn't make the 180 turn in time, and it blew up. And so that theory's been out there. The problem with that theory is that the torpedo room is intact, which is pretty obvious when you look at the pictures. I mean, it's very obvious that the torpedo room is intact. So
it just makes you wonder. And I'm one of those in the camp that thinks the Russians sank. And it's just maybe it's just because what it was taught when I was in sub school, and of course it's talked about sub school. I remember being talked about, damn that, because instructors, you were an instructor before. You know how you just to break up the monotony. You just start talking about something like that. Next thing you know, you got your whole class's interest.
Right.
And then it just goes on. But I just remember some of the discussion, and it sounds right to me. It feels right to me because of what you said, K-129 and all the other monkey business going on.
68 was a bad year to be a submarine. So the upshot of this entire article is that it was none of those things. It was a hydrogen explosion caused by hydrogen buildup in the batteries. And that apparently someone opened a door, opened a hatch, opened something, and sparked the hydrogen that had built up. Which, again, now look, I'm a big believer that you change your theories to fit the facts, not your facts to fit the theories. I accept that. And on the surface of it, it certainly appears that that could be a reasonable cause leading to the sinking. If you have an interior detonation of hydrogen, takes out the ops compartment, forward compartment, people after the reactor are likely to have survived the initial incident. And as the ship tries to recover, so be it. The problem with that is, it's been a long time since I left the boat, but I seem to remember that we were very concerned about hydrogen buildup, both from the O2 generator and from the batteries. And it was something that we kept an eye on a fairly regular basis.
I can't remember if it was once every 6 hours they would go down there and take readings. Heck, and we might have even had sensors that had general readings of the battery compartment anyways, the battery well.
Right.
But I know it. Yeah.
So did that come about after the fact? Did they discover that, well, this may have been a contributing factor, and so we better start monitoring? I don't think it did. I think that we always monitored hydrogen, even going back to the Baleo class in World War II. So it would seem to me that if that were the cause, that it would indicate some, I hate to use this word, but it would have indicated some negligence on behalf of the crew to allow that to have happened in the first place, which makes it, in my view, unlikely. And also, what it said, the Argentinian sub went down. Because of that. They're comparing the loss of the San Juan, the ARA San Juan, years ago, to a similar thing, and they did have electrical problems. That was noted. That was known. So, but whether or not it would be an explosion of hydrogen gas it just seems so far-fetched to me that submarine would do that.
Based on that assumption, say it did happen. So, we've always been slow to get the briefs from both the Thresher and the Scorpion. It's taken almost till now to really get any information out of the Navy about what happened, because there was a thing in place that you had to protect the nuclear program, because if you gave Congress a reason to scrap it, they would. So they were very protective about when it had incidents, what information they released. Well, if it was a battery issue with hydrogen, like you said, that goes to the beginning of the submarine program. From the very beginning, they've known this has been a problem. If that's what the problem was, what would have been harmed by if they would have known about it, say, 71, saying, well, here's the real reason I lost the submarine. What would be the harm? And that way people would have some closure.
Not only would we have had closure, but imagine the impact on us as young submariners. Oh, look, hydrogen, very, very, like we didn't already know, but hydrogen, very dangerous. You need to make sure you need to be constantly monitoring this, which again, I think we were. But
changes the procedure, go out to the fleet. Better monitoring equipment be put in place if we didn't already have the best equipment. Yeah.
It may have happened. I do know this. I was asleep one night, I guess, and nature called. And so I had to get up and stumble towards the head. And as I'm stumbling out the bunk room, on a T-hole, the berthing is on level 3. And at the back end of level 3, missile compartment level 3, is machinery 2, which is where the O2 generators, which I understand they don't even have anymore, were located. And the O2 guy came screaming out of machinery 2, waving his arms, screaming, "It's going to blow! It's going to blow!" And I remember thinking to myself, should I just go back to bed, or should I go to the head first? I don't want to die in the head, so...
Yeah, we're gonna, because that's it. We always called those the bomb.
It turned out they were talking about something else, but But at the same time, it was kind of like, well, I'm 90% asleep as it is. So I don't know.
Well, it must not have been about people up because you come out screaming like that, somebody's going to hit the 4MC and get the ball rolling.
I don't know. I don't know if I buy the theory of a hydrogen buildup and explosion, but it seems to fit the facts. Okay. It seems to fit the ideas of what was discovered, but it just, to me, that points to the crew not necessarily doing their job. Now, maybe the equipment was broken. I don't know. Maybe they weren't trained for it. I find that hard to believe, but it keeps me up at night. And then the other side of this is that I always know that it's the one thing that you forgot. Doesn't matter how highly trained you are. It's the one thing you forgot the one time that'll get you every time. And maybe it was just a one-time thing that they just forgot about. Who knows? The only people that know are the 99 guys that are down there. And one of them is laying apparently next to the boat, not in the boat, which is weird to me and freaks me out.
It's really, yeah. It really does throw out a lot of, what really happened? So, yeah. It's a good read, so I recommend you going out to the Facebook group. Type in the subvet to Facebook/group /subvet, and it'll say Scorpion Theories in big bold letters. You can click on that link, and it'll take you over to Poopy Suits and Cowboys article. And those boys do a great job. They got several books out, so a lot of their stuff's very interesting to read.
Yeah. Great stories. It's all submariner stories. I've interviewed Charles before. For subvets, and it's good stuff and fascinating stories from people that were there. So if you want to know, I don't know, man. I'm just so you believe that the Russians did it? You're on that. You're on that.
I'm on that train. I don't have anything I can particularly say that. Well, here's why. It just knowing that that was getting into the height of the Cold War, Vietnam's getting ready to start. There was already all kinds of monkey business. When I mean monkey business, we already know that, submarines back then and even up into the 80s easily, a little bit of bump and grinding going on, things happen, people too close in certain places they shouldn't be because, well, that's what submarines are built for. It just is what it is. So that's why they call it a Cold War. There was a war going on. Definitely on the surface, but most definitely underwater. Just like there's probably something going down right now with all this stuff going on. I'm sure there's a lot of submarines out there doing what submarines do. So that's just my theory.
Imagine being on patrol right now.
Oh, yeah.
That would be stressful. But they're out there doing it. I don't know if I'm on the... See, this is the thing. I've interviewed two authors that have written books about this. Ed Offley and Kenneth Sewell have both written books about the losses.
Yeah, we talked about Kenneth Sewell before, yeah.
And both of them are convinced that the tape that they heard is the Scorpion being torpedoed and sunk. They're both convinced of that. You can't back them off of that. They're absolutely convinced of it. My problem with it is you could play me a tape of that and you could play me a tape of a screwdriver and a firecracker going off, and I don't know that I would be able to tell the difference because there's no context to it. There's nothing on it that says, "Hi, I'm the USS Scorpion screaming along here at 18 knots on the surface, and that's a Russian torpedo coming at me." There's nothing that says that. So it's not that I don't accept that theory. I don't, but I need something more than that. I need confirmation, and we're never going to get that because, again, all the people that were involved, much like the K-129, are dead. So they took their secrets to the grave. So we're never really going to know. I just get freaked out by this. I'll be honest with you. The whole escape system screws with my head because.
Yeah. What's a guy doing in a K-Poc, laying? Yeah.
Well, he's obviously trying to escape. I mean, the escape trunk is open.
Right.
But the whole system is just, from the word go, the whole system was just hey, you can tell your mother that there's a system for you to get out of the submarine. It only works down to a maximum of 600 feet that we've tried. And it probably doesn't work that deep. And like this guy, you're probably not going to have time for more than one or two people anyway. But but it's there, and you can tell your mother, and just think how much money we sank into designing stanky hoods and escape trunks, knowing full well that they probably were, I don't want to say worthless, but they weren't really.
A lot of cases in a nuclear world, and
right.
Back in the World War II boats, I think that would have been very good.
They had them.
World
War II boats. They did the Tang. They did the escape on the Tang. 8 guys made it out. But
Cold War, we were operating very deep water.
Right. Given all of that,
goes wrong.
It's like, to me, this whole thing of having to go through putting on this stanky hood, putting on your coat, your survival suit, putting on the stanky hood, putting all this other stuff. Number one, it's very time consuming. But then you got to get into this trunk that they're going to pressurize. And supposedly there's a corpsman standing there, or the corpsman is standing there with a needle so he can puncture your eardrums so you don't break your eardrums. You remember that? It's like, I never read that in the procedure, but it still freaks me out.
All right.
So I don't know. And then having to pop that hatch in ice cold, dark water and go to the surface for what? I mean, where we were patrolling, I'm not going to give anything away here, but where we were patrolling was not exactly on the major shipping lanes. So what am I going to do once I get there? And it just, to this day, I mean, literally 40 years later, it still screws with my head.
Mm-hmm. You pet sharks. That's what you did.
But it made my mother feel good. Hey, we got a way to get out. Okay. And then to read this yesterday, and it was like, and again, I knew about it. I'd heard about it before, but yesterday, the report that came yesterday from the poopy suits and cowboy boots guys, very detailed, much more detailed than I ever needed to hear about this thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that wasn't there was that we recovered part of it for identification purposes, which I'm surprised that they didn't even try, or they didn't acknowledge that they did. So
yeah, I'm sure there's stuff. There's more to the story that hasn't come out. I'm sure there's a lot still hidden.
I'm one of those people that sat
10 years to come out.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that sat here and watched the entire declassified Bob Ballard tape. There's like hours of this tape that Bob Ballard did in 1986 when they were 85, whenever it was that they found Titanic. Was that 85? Anyway, that was the cover story for investigating the Scorpion wreck, which, by the way, they were looking at the torpedo room because that's where the 2 nuclear torpedoes are, which they confirmed are in perfect condition. Well, how could you do that if a Mark 37 blew up in there?
Yeah.
Anyway, I've watched all of that, and you never saw a body. So I'm assuming they either edited that out or something changed. I don't know. But it
just didn't need to know.
Work out. I'm just weird. My wife brought me cookies.
Oh, nice. Can I have one?
Sure. White chocolate chip.
Yeah. Pass that. Oh, thank you.
Look good. Anyway, so assuming that we don't get dragged into this, everything should be fine. But I have a deep fear that we're going to be dragged into this Ukrainian war. And once that starts happening, man, this is going to get messy.
You might not hear from us for another 2 weeks. Who knows? You might not hear from us again. The internet goes down.
Well, and I might be in jail because no, I'm not kidding. Vladimir Putin has passed a new law. He signed a new law yesterday. Did you read this? Anyone who criticizes or makes fun of the Russian army, 15-year minimum sentence, hard labor, Siberia. So I immediately posted Russian troops wear pink underwear. So I may be in Russian jail. If they win, they may come in.
Oh man, I can't even make a joke about that because I better just keep it out.
Like the man said, Vladimir, if you win. So you haven't done anything to prove you're going to win yet. So
yeah.
And I read, when was it, yesterday or day before yesterday? Was it, I guess, some babushka, Ukrainian babushka, downed a Russian drone with a jar of pickles. She threw a jar of pickles at a Russian reconnaissance drone.
And it fell down. Meanwhile, there's some kid looking for his drone.
Yeah. What a mess. Makes a great story, but who knows if it's true or not.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring up my sponsor, my website, just real quick. So it's probably too late to do something like this. But if you go on my website, thesubvet.com, you'll see 7K Metals on there. And that's a sponsor of mine. So if you go to 7K Metals /the Subvet, you can learn more about 7K Metals and become, getting your own website where you get dealer prices to buy your gold and silver. Now, there's a huge community on 7K right now. There's people that can help you out and understand the proper way to buy your gold and silver and why to store it and why to build wealth for you and your future, the future of your family to pass on and passing on wealth on and as such a currency that is going to be there for years and years to come. So right now I've been collecting silver eagles. I just want to show you that they're into the state series, but here's one of these are MS70s. So I had to learn about that too. And when you go on it, when you sign up as a member, you get education about all this kind of stuff. NGC is one of the grading, that's the grading company for coins. And MS70s are perfect mint. They put it in here. So that makes these a little bit more pricier than just your standard silver, which has gone up. I think it's close to $28 right now. So, and that's because everything going on with the economy. And then right now they're in the state series. So I did get my Colorado coin there. Did you see that, Dave? So I got that recently. So, these are all the walking liberties, and I got Tennessee here. So I got to buy, just go through and show all this stuff. But, go to 7K Metal /the Subvet. You can link off of my website, thesubvet.com. Click on there. You're going to see save, share, and earn. And then you can start your way into 7K Metals and learning about it through some videos there. And if you actually have any more questions about it, you can send me an email too at eric@thesubvet.com.
I don't have a silver coin, but I did get my USS Colorado coin.
There you go. Yeah, you should remember that last time. I actually want that coin. I need to get a hold of them.
I don't. We did post the link to their association, so they would appreciate it if you'd buy them. One of the things I like about the Colorado Association is they also have a thing there where you can donate stuff to the families who are taking care of the single guys as well. Because those of you that have been in new construction, it's a little bit stressful on single guys especially. So anyway, I sent a Domino's pizza card, so you can do that.
Oh, somebody would like that. Go get some pizza. Good job. Yeah, you did a little extra work. Yeah. Cobb can hand that out. Huh?
Well, that'll get those done. So again, if you are interested in being on the Subvets with us, we'd love to have guests. I know we have some lined up already. Drop me an email, dolphindave@slipperyfish.com, or Eric an email at eric@thesubvet.com.
Yeah.
And we do have some requirements. One, you have to have Zoom access because we do everything via Zoom, because Eric's in Colorado and I'm in Washington State. So you got to have Zoom and you got to have headphones. You can use your microphone off your camera, but you do have to have headphones because otherwise you get this echo back thing and it sounds like crap. So,
yeah, sure.
But we'd love to talk to you if you want to come on and share your sea stories or argue with us about Eric's insane theories about things.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even bring up aliens today.
No, you didn't bring
Dang
up aliens.
it.
What happened to the aliens?
Project Bluebeam. Go Google it. Anyways, that's
it. That's all I get. Go Google Project Bluebeam.
Project Bluebeam. Yeah. The last card that is going to be played. The alien invasion. I can't wait. Independence Day. ID4.
Are you familiar 96. With the Drake equation? Are you familiar at all with the Drake equation?
Oh, of course I'm. Oh, yeah. Drake
N equals 1, man. N equals 1. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to redo the equation for you. They already found bunches of exoplanets. Starting out was like 1 and 4, then there's 12. Now there's thousands of them.
But they're
now
so
they got
far away.
They got that new telescope up there, the James Webb, and it's going to be able to read biologics on planet, biologic signatures.
Did you see where they're designing the submarine to explore Titan, Moon Titan, Saturn's Moon Titan has methane oceans. So they are
I know
designing.
that's been a wish going. I remember posting articles back about my old website as far back as 2005, 2006. That's been a dream of theirs for a long time.
Thinking about sending them a letter saying, hey, if you need some qualified submariners to go handle that, I'm willing to volunteer. Because in the book 2001, the book, not the movie, but the original book version, it was Dave Bowman that went to SAP. And I'm willing to do it.
Yeah. Okay, you're willing to fill in that part. So,
I
yeah.
Plus, I want to be a star child. And
I think you are a star child, Dave. I was going to have that discussion with you later.
I am Fire Control Technician, Ballistic Missile, First Class Submarine Qualified Dave Bowman.
And I'm Missile Technician, Second Class, Eric Ryle.
And this has been
the Sub Bets.